Hey everyone, and welcome. I'm here to talk with Betty today. Hey Betty.
Hi, Katie. Hi, everyone.
Hey. And Betty is a graduate of the Awakening and Transformation program and an amazing graduate, like everyone is. I'm so happy to be able to talk to her today and just share some of your experiences. So Betty, we'd just love to hear a little bit about your background. What was your faith life like growing up, and where did it bring you in your adult life?
Sure. Yeah, I was raised here in the Deep South in a very conservative evangelical setting. Taught Sunday school and church every Sunday, and very very conservative, uh, strong foundational biblical belief system. And very much about. Living the right and wrong life, and the consequences of such afterwards. So that was kind of my journey.
A little bit
Uh,
of fear-based in the beginning.
yeah, very much very judging God,
Hmm.
very judging God, and that typical kind of if you do wrong, then there's hell and damnation and that. So it was
Yeah.
very much behave because you will be punished kind of thing. So there really wasn't a personal relationship between me and God. It was kind of that God's up here on the throne and it's about judgment. So that was just kind of the culture that I was raised in. Did the typical grow up, go away to college. Pretty much left the church. I still considered myself very much a Christian, but I was not actively engaged in any community of faith. And it wasn't until probably about 10 years later when I had married and had a child. And my husband and I both, he too was raised in this pretty conservative Christian, decided that, we needed to be connected to a church. And so we did move to another denomination, went a little more to the liberal side of the world. But still very much pretty conservative, still kind of mindset there. And in that process along the way, probably 20 years into that, I was comfortable with my church family and my belief system. But I got connected with another group of people within that denomination who were kind of looking at the world a little bit differently, uh, more of a contemplative kind of practice and more open to your own personal relationship with God and that your own spiritual journey. And so I started kind of walking down that path. I even went so far as I became spiritual director. I went through a 2-year training program there, which was really about doing my own inner work. And I think all of that was the time when I kind of got to the point of figuring out, who is my God and how am I connected to God in this world that I'm walking through. So that's
That's
kind of
so
been my journey. And
That's so amazing because it's just this reminder that it's never too late to ever take another step on our journey. I think a lot of people feel like they're if this was their experience growing up, they can never have another experience. And your journey tells us that's really not true. We have to keep seeking.
yeah, absolutely. And I tell people that all the time. It is a journey. I said, and every time I think I've turned a corner, and I'm going to see, the big it's like it's just another curve in the road, and it's always good. There's always something, and it's always like you point to the future and say, "Oh, I want to go there." And it's for me, it's this constant movement toward
Yeah.
a deeper relationship with God, with my own spirituality. Um, I think we can get comfortable with where we're at. And even with my experiences growing up as a child, and as sometimes some memories are very harsh, and I look at them and I think, how could it? But all that was foundational for where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So, I always try to think, well, if you change one thing, you change everything.
Yeah.
So all of that helped form who I am. And so I don't, regret any of that. Some of it was painful and hard, but sometimes we have to walk through painful and hard things to get us to where we need to be, to make us a
Yeah.
leader. to make us uncomfortable enough to say, okay, I want more of this, or I want less of this. I'm willing or I'm unwilling to live with where I'm at. So I think that's very true of our spiritual life as well, and our own personal growth, is that, when we have that pull within us to ask why, or to even to challenge ourselves with where we're at, it's part of that intuitive kind of, God tug.
Mm-hmm.
It's God saying, come on, there's more. There's more for you to learn. And if you're just brave enough to take the next step, I've got some wonderful things to show you. And
Oh
so,
my gosh. And let's talk about how you took that next step into metaphysics, because when you joined the Awakening Transformation Program, you were you were definitely far along on your spiritual journey, but just beginning on this whole language of metaphysics and everything that meant. So yeah, what drew you to begin to experience that, like to be brave enough to take that next step?
It was just so, when I saw what you were doing, and you were really building the program at that time and really starting to stand it up, and just some of the language that you were talking about, even though I did not understand the words you were using, vibrations and intuition and angel cards, and all of those things that from 50 years ago would have been just, can't. But all of it sounded, I didn't know what it was, but it sounded familiar.
Yeah.
It sounded right. It sounded like, and again, my learner, my side of my brain that's always trying to read and learn and grow about everything. It's just kind of how my filter, my lens for life was like, I just need to find out what this is and see if it is another piece of what I'm supposed to know. So it was kind of this curiosity and that sense of it was such a logical yes for me to say that to your program.
Yeah, I love the logic and the intuition all together.
Yeah. It really was. It really was.
Yeah. And has it been a good step?
Been an amazing step. All the pieces along the way, as they kind of built on it, you start out really talking about energy and, what we're sending to the world, out to the universe, and what's coming back to us, and that, that prayer is energy. And, it's like, that's right. That's so correct. But giving the language is kind of like learning and the skills to use it has just kind of grounded me to the point where I don't hesitate to use the language in talking to other people now.
Oh, that's amazing.
Helping them understand and explore that for themselves. To give voice to that, and have just had some really wonderful, positive experiences with that. In a small group the other night, we were talking to an individual in our group who was really had some deep childhood trauma, way deeper, and she finally shared with the group, and I'm like, okay, this is way beyond this group. But I said, you really need to find someone who you can work through this, because until you do, you're never going to be able to live who you are.
Yeah,
carrying that so deeply. And she made the comment, well, I've thought about doing that, but I don't think it would work. And I said, well, it won't then.
Right.
And she's like,
the energy.
Well, thanks a lot. I said, I'm not trying to be angry. I said, but if that's, and another individual in the group spoke and said, I agree with what she's saying. And then she shared a healing experience that she had, a physical healing, where she said, the doctor said, I think the surgery's got to go fine. And she said, I know it will. And she had this amazing recovery. And she looked at the other individual and said, you've got to decide that this is going to. So just things like that. I mean, it's like the program itself has given me the tools that I need to help me have the confidence to step into spaces where I see hurt or people who are struggling with something, and can say, this might be of help to you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I need to like stop and cry a little bit about all that in a good way, because that's what we're all about, is like sharing this
Yeah, I
energy.
mean, that was such an amazing
Oh my
experience,
gosh.
and I wanted to share that with you, and but it was just so, and I never would have stepped across that and said that if I had not had my own personal experience through this what you have done with us, and just the the foundational background, the knowledge base. Yes,
Yeah.
because your everything you have is deeply rooted in Christianity and your biblical scholarship and all of that. And here's this other piece of it that takes it to the next place where we can say, yes, we all believe very deeply in this. Here's another thing that can help you with your healing. And, because I think that's what, we're created by God in his image. So we are creators. I mean, that's part of who we are as God. So we're called to create. And I was doing this other thing, leading this group, and we're talking about, what is sin? Well, if you use that definition, sin is missing the mark.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're not being who God created us to be, we're missing the mark.
Yeah.
If we're not being our full self,
Yes.
then that's that. I don't see it as sin as from my old past of punishment sin. I see it as breaking God's heart.
Yeah.
I think God weeps when we don't live into the incredible people that he birthed us to be.
Yeah. And that kind of impacted me when you just said that, like when we don't embrace if God is calling us to explore all these dimensions of metaphysics, and we're not embracing it, we're denying a huge part of ourselves. And I imagine, God and our angels being like, what are you doing? Why aren't you moving forward?
Yeah. Come on. Let's go. I used to tell my, a group that I led, I said, I just know one day I'm going to get to heaven and God's going to say, look at all this stuff I had for you, and you didn't open the boxes. Come on.
But no, because now you'll get there and God will be like, way to go. You did it.
Yeah. Wasn't that fun?
Yeah.
I think that's what, wasn't it great? Even with the pain and the difficulties and the hurt that, our human journey that we have, that it's going to be this place of, but you did it, knowing that that you could do it, that you could move through that, and that you were never really alone.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, so it sounds like this whole experience and embracing this world of metaphysics and how much it's just helped you in your calling and your many callings, the ways that you live your calling in the world, that it hasn't challenged your faith. And a lot of people are fearful that if they start to learn about chakras, or if they start to learn about energy, that they're going to lose their faith. They're going to lose their faith in Jesus. So can you just tell us a little bit about what that's been like for you? Did you ever feel like, oh, if I listen to one more lesson that Katy has, I'm gonna abandon my whole faith journey?
Lightning bolts and all the stuff.
Right. Yes. All the stuff.
The earthquake. And I really didn't, and I think part of that is, when you reach a certain point in your life, you're just kind of like done with the whole fear. I think fear paralyzes us.
Yeah, doesn't it?
And it just puts us into this place of the what ifs. What if something horrible happens? And I'm like, well, what if something wonderful happens?
Yeah.
And I've had my share of ugly, and pretty life-changing event about 5 or 6 years ago with a 30-year career ending abruptly. And I kind of thought, I got through that. I got through it, and I actually landed in a better place as far as my personal self. And so it's kind of like, what really do I have to fear? And maybe, I'm not going to fear that this is going to change my mind about, because there are there are very few things in this world that are absolute.
Right.
Very few things are absolute, but, My belief in God is absolute.
Yeah. And God's belief in us.
And exactly, and God's
Yeah.
belief in us is absolute. And the rest of it is all a work in progress. How that plays out, the context of the world, I mean, it's this constant movement there. But I knew that, and throughout your program, I knew that was, and you were very clear on that up front. That this was not about convincing you to let go of your faith.
No, yeah.
But
Never.
to embrace it more deeply, and just to open yourself up to the possibilities of there's other ways of experiencing your faith.
Yeah.
We all who grew up in these evangelical, we all talked about angels, but we talked about them from a distance, and they were people who talked to the people in the Bible.
Right. Yeah. Not us. Right.
Yeah. And so the questions would go, well, wait a minute, why not me?
Mm-hmm.
If they talk to all these other people, why wouldn't they talk to me?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't angels dance around and whisper in my ear and all those kind of experiences? So I never really questioned that, my faith. It never, you never presented any information in such a way that we had to choose.
Oh, right. Yeah.
That there was never a thing of a choice. And that's part of the beauty of your program, is that you keep it so open, and you just you feed us all of this. It's like going to the buffet, and the first time through, you pick up the things that you like and you want. Maybe the second time through, you try a couple of different things, and so you get to see that. And I've gone back through so many of your lessons. Just when I would think about something, I'd go pick a specific, go look at chakras again. So it's a constant movement. It's not like, and I think you said this, finishing or graduating is really just beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And and you I want to just point out for anyone listening that alums, once they graduate, get full access to all the new information. Right. And you can, like Betty said, you can rewatch videos, you can re-experience whatever you want to. So I'm a big believer in that lifetime learning and lifetime access. So
yeah, because we change, and what we need change. And when I listen to it now, I hear something a little bit different from when I heard it the first time. So.
Yeah, and I'm actually, I'm constantly revising. I got a huge inspiration about 2 weeks ago of things I need to add. So I'll be adding them over the next couple of months, and then let you guys know. So so they're coming up. What were some of the things that were different about what I was doing about this program that initially drew you to it, and to a point where you knew it was for you?
Well, you started with, first we had a conversation, and it wasn't just, because I've looked, like I said, I'm always poking around on the internet looking for something else to read, learn, study, sign up for, that kind of thing. But yours was different in that you didn't just go in and get to register and bam, you're in there. There was a conversation between you and I about where I was, what, why I was interested. Although you talked a little bit about the program, those kind of things. So from the beginning, it was you established a relationship.
Yeah, it's really important.
It was critical, because I think that really is a huge thing in what separates the work that you're doing. And for the metaphysical, for learning these things, it has to be, I could go get a whole bunch of books from the library and read about all this stuff. It would not invite me to experience it.
Right.
So the experiences that you provide, like through your meditation, your guided meditations, and then throughout the program, when you're stopping and saying, okay, it's time for a phone call. Mm-hmm. And so it was kind of that, we spend time on the phone talking about what's resonated with you, what's working, what do you want more, how are you integrating it into your life? Was a key thing for me, was in the conversations with you alone, and the group conversations.
Yeah, you get to know
your peers, share with one another. So it wasn't that sense of isolated e-learning, that I'm sitting here 1,000 miles from you, and I'm just another person who signed up for your class.
Right. Yeah. No, we really get to know each other, and
yeah, and the group, it's kind of like you get to meet this group of of like-minded souls who are journeying, and it's kind of now it's so cool to have these people scattered all over the world, and I'm looking at pictures of their dogs and
Yeah.
their pursuits and what they're doing and all that kind of stuff. So it really does create a community, which
It
is
absolutely,
critical
and it's
in
invaluable.
this day and age. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny because I tell people all the time, I'm like, I fully expect all my graduates to like send me a photo from Hawaii or something, like y'all all meet there,
Yeah. Hey, where are you? Yeah.
because everyone gets to be such good friends. So
Yeah. Yeah.
well, tell us about did you ever have like an aha moment in the course of while you were in the program where you were like, oh my gosh, I get it. It's all real.
Yeah.
It's all happening. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all along there were all these good experiences and positive, but yeah, you have this thing in there about your past life meditation that you do, and I being of a pretty scientific healthcare background, kind of, that's okay, Katie. That one's
This is the bridge too far.
yeah. This one might be the one that I just kind of I'll listen to it and skip over it, but I'm not good. But I was far enough into the program. It's kind of like I had already validated that what I put into it is what I get out of it. So
Mhm.
I was very intentional in doing that work that week, of
Yeah.
doing my reading, and not just reading, but really reflecting and grounding in it. And so I did the past life regression, and it was just an amazing experience. And
What did you learn?
it was so clear. I mean, the imagery and everything, it was so clear, and there was no struggle or anything with it. And it was this woman from back in the day, and she was a healer.
Yeah.
She was this, and she was, a very visual image of her walking through her village, in the wheat field, carrying a basket, and people around her and all that kind of stuff. And it was just this like, okay, so I can put all this together logically and come to that place of I am more than just this point in time, I guess is a way of saying it. you know
Right.
that starts here and ends here. And which is not inconsistent with what I have, my Christian beliefs,
Right.
and what because it was pounded on me, even with this judgment of God, it's all about where you're going next.
Mhm.
Well, where I'm going next may be very similar. I mean, it never ends.
Right. Mm.
So it's the kind of a shift of, what does it mean to live fully now, and the possibility of living fully again, or in the past, or whatever, that it doesn't have to be defined to this place and
And
time.
I love
That,
that you're still doing this healing work.
yeah.
I mean, you're still doing it.
Yeah, and that we've got this purpose,
Yeah.
and that God kind of knits us together with these gifts and graces, and puts people and things in front of us, and says, live into this, and pull from this other, pull
Mhm.
from these past life, so we don't have to just start at ground zero.
Right. Yeah.
That we've got this, and we all talk about, the saints that have come before us, and
Mhm.
all this beautiful language that we always have kind of held over there as separate and apart from us.
Right. Mm.
But it's all connected.
Yeah.
There's so much connectivity and synchronicity there, of them walking through our lives with us, and how we walk. So yeah, that was a pretty big, like, okay, maybe some of this, some of my, so, what validated for me is that, the older I get, the less I know,
Yeah, right.
you know, and to just kind of stay open to those experiences, and what it is that, um, there is offered out there
I love
for
it.
us for us to experience and be a part of.
Well, tell us some of the practices that you use maybe in your everyday life now. Like, how does this help you day to day? Maybe practices and also like worldview. What's, you gave us some great examples earlier, like with the groups that you've been in and conversations that you've had, and just the courage you've had to step into places, new places. Yeah. So what else goes on in your day to day life where this has been really helpful?
Well, one of my practices that I do is setting my intentions now. It's one of writing them down, speaking them out loud, claiming them that this is how this is going to be. This is my intention, and sending that energy out there to the world.
Yeah.
About how I want to be. And one of the main things I think that it's done for me is help control my reactivity. Not to the little things in life.
Yes.
And to the bigger things in the world. And I can't change the world. I don't have within my power to right all the wrongs or the injustices that we all see happening every day in life. What I can do is attend to my space, where I walk and where I stand, and how I respond to and interact with the person in front of me.
Yeah. And imagine if the whole world is doing that.
Well, and I tell people that. I said, you've got 6 feet. You've got your 6 feet space. You take care of that.
Right.
And if the person standing in front of you takes care of theirs, look how much you've grown that. And so we create these subcultures of how we're going to be together and how we're going to live, how we're going to attend to one another, that we're not going to allow, the marginalized to be taken, that have no voice, to be taken advantage of. And so I can speak that piece for them, or wherever I'm at and wherever I stand. And so my heart still breaks when I see atrocities and wrong. I take a deep breath and I say, okay, what is your place here?
Right.
What can you do? You can send out good energy, good vibrations, but more importantly, you can be with the people that are come in front of you. You can speak when you're called on to speak. You can offer words of healing to those who come to you. You can provide support. You can help people maybe consider a different way of seeing the world.
Right.
So it's kind of like I haven't shut it all out.
Right.
I just am walking my journey and trying to do what I can do along the way.
Yeah, you're managing your energy.
Right.
And what your role is, where you're called to be most effective.
Right.
And one of the things one of the intentions I have for myself is to be in relationship with like 250 people over the next several years that are all impacting other people. Because we like 6 feet at a time, like you say.
Right.
But our reach is so much bigger than we can ever know.
Yeah.
Right. Because even what you described, like you being in the group and sharing your energetic language, metaphysical language, and know what you know with other people is a result of your interactions with the Awakening and Transformation program. And so like that impact is nothing I would know about unless you tell me, which I'm so happy that you did. But, I don't need to know all of them because you're out doing your work and I'm here doing my work. Like we're all doing it together. Yeah.
Yeah. And even on the community, I'm involved in this little group of people in one of the little inner city area that's very economically suppressed, and it's struggling. I mean, it's elderly population, crime, and it's just, and how do you help those people find their community again?
Right.
And so the work that we're doing there, when we're kind of approaching it from a health stance, but it's so much bigger than that, because what you're trying to do is help them find their voice.
Right.
and find what it is they care about, and that we serve as the resources to support them.
Yeah, and that's all energy.
And it is,
It's
and
all
I think
energy.
one of the things about this program, Katy, that really was kind of not really an aha, but a real, this is it for me, is that time when I realized that everything I do in my work, whether I'm teaching a class or leading a group or whatever I'm doing, that is my ministry.
Yeah.
And that how I do it through what I've learned through your program and through my own grounding and all of this, I bring all of this to myself,
Yeah.
do that work. And so it's not like you do this so separate and apart, you've got this other calling.
Right.
So
No,
it's
yeah, it's
not like,
all
it's not like
together.
Batman, we don't have different lives at different times of our day. It becomes so integrated that it's one and the same. So whether I'm
Yeah.
standing in front of a classroom and teaching, or, I'm meeting with a corporate business group doing some training or coaching, it's this work. It's
Yeah.
the work of healing.
Right. Yeah. And your like your chakras are with you everywhere you go.
Right.
Your energy, like all of that is all with you all the time. Like you can't
Yeah.
ever run from it. And so you get to
Yeah.
use it all the time and whatever you're doing. So
Yeah, and so
so
I think that would be the thing I would want people to know
mhm.
about this. It's not so that you can go do something different. It's so that you can do what you do and be who you are more fully.
Yeah.
That's what the program does.
And I've also seen with a lot with other people too. People discern like, oh, I'm in this situation I really don't need to be in. I need to go.
Hmm.
I need to make the change so that I can be more fully me.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
which is like gorgeous. So, thank you so much. This has been so much fun to catch up and to connect and to hear about
Yes.
all your experiences. So if there's anyone who is really resonating with Betty's story, you want to find out more about this, I just encourage you to reach out to me. The easiest way is to email me, Katy, Katy, at Katy Valentine, just like the holiday, KatyValentine.com. And I would just love to talk with you and see if we can get you the same results that Betty has gotten, which is just amazing, as you can see. So I will see everyone in the next video.